Thanks for downloading another segment from the Best of the Classic Metal Show. The Classic Metal Show is heard live on Saturdays from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com. And now here's another piece of Classic Metal Show history on the Best of the Classic Metal Show.
The Classic Metal Show.
All right, that's brand new stuff from a somewhat brand new band, a band just simply called the Company Band, that one called Hot Topic Woman. And on the phone right now, old friend of the Classic Metal Show from the band Fireball Ministry, the one, the only, the Reverend James Roda. Jim, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent, man. Well, dude, it's interesting to see you with a new project. I guess maybe the best place to start from where we last left off with you would be to maybe find out what the status is with Fireball Ministry, and then how did you come from there to this new project?
Well, the Fireball is alive and well, and we just finished a record that's going to come out in March next year.
Excellent.
And let's see. I guess I'll circle back to the Company Band story, and then let you know about the Fireball stuff. But basically what had happened was, we did a bunch of touring with CKY back in back on the last record, and I got to be pretty close with Jess Margera, and we kind of always we were talking about, hey, it would be really cool to someday maybe put some songs together and record them, because we have a lot of the same musical taste and yada, yada, yada. So basically, I have a good friend out in L.A., a guy named Dave Bone, who had written a whole bunch of songs, and I thought they were awesome. He had come up with a whole bunch of ideas, and I thought that they were fantastic. And I was like, man, I was talking to Jess Margera about doing something, on the downtime for everybody, and I'm like, I think that your songs would be perfect. And he was like, yeah, that'd be great. So I called Jess, and I said, hey, I'm going to send you over some demos that Dave and I made, and tell me what you think. And, Jess was super into it. And then I asked Dave one night, who would you want to be the guy to sing on this stuff? And he's like, well, the ultimate would be Neil Fallon. Sure. And I said, well, Jess and I know Neil.
Okay.
So I was like, totally, that's an easy thing to put together. So anyway, so Jess called Neil, and Neil said, yeah, let me hear the stuff. If I like it, I'll do it. And that's pretty much how it all came to be.
Cool.
It was really like organic and kind of like just a bunch of dudes that wanted to play together.
Sure. Now the interesting thing from listening to the new album, the self-titled album, is that it doesn't really feel like any of you guys' projects. It certainly doesn't feel like CKY. It maybe sort of follows the same sort of a vibe that you might find on a Clutch record or a Fireball record, but it's a lot more loose and free flowing. I think that especially with Fireball Ministry, you guys have like a more serious edge to your sound than maybe this is. Is this definitely more of like a fun jam type of a project for you?
Yeah, it's kind of like, we kind of take our musical cues a lot from Dave, because he's the one who's kind of, I would say he's definitely the primary, riff master in this group, and so, for the rest of us, it's kind of fun. I mean, for me personally, it's kind of fun because I'm just adding to something that's already there. Unlike in Fireball, where it's like, I obviously have a lot more to do with the songwriting because I also sing the song. So,
right.
This is really fun for me because I don't have to be the primary, and I think it's fun for everybody else because there's no pressure, and there's not like any kind of pressure on us to do this. So it's just fun, and I think Neil's kind of tongue-in-cheek lyrics with these songs, kind of express that too, which I really kind of like.
Sure.
Myself. So it's just totally fun. That's all it is. It's just a bunch of dudes playing music.
Right. Is it a different vibe for you though, because you're so used to being, the guy that holds everything together?
Yeah, and I just want to say it's more like, when you sing songs, you usually have more control over things because you know the realm of which you know the key that you can sing, the keys that you can sing in, the range of your voice, and yada yada yada. So it's kind of fun to not even have to think about that stuff. It's definitely a totally different world for me, but it's a world that I like to visit.
Sure, right on, man. Definitely. Now, man, with the company band, I mean, obviously you guys all do have, main projects, I guess. So does this qualify as a band, or does this qualify as a project, or does it really not get a qualification? You just do it and see where it goes.
Yeah, I think that's how everybody's just, like with all our other bands, not to sound like I'm whining or anything, but there's a certain level of a certain level of expectation that comes with being in a band, especially for Jess and Neil and myself and even Brad Davis from Fu Manchu. We all have kind of expectations in our other bands, things that we have to do, or things that we should do, or those things. And with this band, it's just kind of fun because there's absolutely no expectations. Nobody's like leaning over your shoulder and being like, well, this is due out at this time, and you got to make sure that there's at least one single that we can push to radio, and there's this and there's that, and whatever. And not that stuff, not that playing in Fireball isn't fantastic, and that it's not my first love and or anything, but it is nice to be able to play in a band where you're not thinking about that stuff. You're not worrying about really any of the business side of it. It's just more like, we just get to go at our own pace and not have to, concern ourselves with things like business.
Right, sure. Definitely, man. Well, speaking of the business, man, I do want to go back to Fireball Ministry for a little bit because it's one of those bands. I know we've never stopped playing King. That song gets played at least once a month on our show. That whole album is just so good. And then Their Rock Is Not Our Rock, another great album. But, outside looking in, it just looked like you guys really didn't get any kind of real push or, I don't know what the difference was between the two.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's been kind of a rough road, and we've had a really hard time with labels and the business. And I don't want to sound like I'm bellyaching or anything, but for example, we never really had the label support that we really needed, because I think that people always kind of look at the band as being like a specialty act, like a retro thing or a throwback thing or whatever. And on our last record, that came out on Century Media, or this imprint that Century Media had called Liquor and Poker, we were the first band in the history of Century Media to ever get, a national TV spot in the States. We played on the Carson Daly show.
Right. And
for us, it was a really big deal. It was like we got this national exposure, on NBC, and no one from the label showed up.
Oh, jeez.
For the performance. Yeah, and we really kind of were like, wow, this is a telltale sign. I guess, if our publicist can get us something like this, and something this significant, and no one from the label can even show up, I think that there's probably a big an issue here.
Right.
So that was why we kind of walked away, from that traditional kind of label idea, and we basically, I did have some personal stuff happen in my family. My mom passed away last year. That really kind of set us back, and just kind of trying to figure out, like, okay, it's 2009. We've been a band for 10 years. How do you do it? How do you do it? How do we do this without getting so frustrated?
Right.
And the answer is, basically, just get more control over what you're doing.
Sure.
And that's exactly, what we've done and been working on, So this next release, we financed it ourselves. We made sure that everything is exactly how we want it. We're putting it out via a distribution network that we can, that we feel good about and we feel is viable.
Right.
And we'll be able to watch everything every step of the way,
Sure. Absolutely.
So yeah, that's these days that's how you succeed, I think.
Right. And in a way, when you look at how you guys came to prominence in the first place, it was very word of mouth and organic. Anyway, the Second Great Awakening. I think I'm not the only person that heard what's his name, Ian Robinson. Talk about your band, and then all of a sudden went and got it. You know what I mean? I think it was very word of mouth at first, and then it became more of business, and now it almost sounds like it's maybe going back a little more to a little more of a grassroots style. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, and also just more, like I said, the key I think here is just us knowing, what's going on, because traditionally when you sign to a record label, and we've been on a couple now, it's like, you have this like feeling like, well, that's it, somebody, mommy and daddy are going to take care of everything, and I'm going to sit back and get drunk every night and, do whatever you do on tour,
Right.
You have this idea like, oh, well, now life's a party, now we could just sit back and have fun, and it's actually the exact opposite, you constantly are asking questions like, well, where is all this advance money going? Like, why is our marketing budget $45,000, and yet I don't see any ads in anything? There's just like these weird questions where you don't really understand how everything breaks down, and no one's really going to tell you either. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
No one's going to be honest and say like, we spent this much money on this and that much money on that, and this is why you owe this much, and this is why you didn't sell, 1 million copies of your record.
Right.
So it's like you kind of it gets so far out of your hands that you just don't know, what's going on. And I think that technology and the marketplace have dictated differently over the last, 3 years, where it's like you really, as an artist, have the ability to control things.
Right.
You look at what like Brian Eno and David Byrne, not that we're, them or, anywhere near their level of musicianship or whatever, but
Sure.
they're kind of like the pioneers, where you can look at them and be like, hey, look, you don't need all the headaches to put out music. If all you want to do is put out music, that's easy.
Right. Sure, man. Well, with
this company band, record, it's been basically the same thing. It's been like, hey, we could just get a distro deal, with the help of somebody, and then bang, everybody can go buy the record.
Right. Sure.
Nobody's gonna we don't have to worry about anything.
Sure. Now with the company band, obviously coming out, and then you have a Fireball record, sounds like in the can and ready to go. Does that at all limit what kind of involvement you can have with the company band now, as far as maybe touring and whatnot, or do you have it scheduled so that you can do it the way you want?
Yeah, honestly, Neil does a lot more touring than all of us with Clutch. Clutch's bread and butter is their tour schedule. So, we're all realistic about what we're going to be able to do, but I can pretty much guarantee that it's on the forefront of everybody's mind to get out there and play some shows. We played a couple last year in Philadelphia because Jess's brother has a bar in Westchester, and we did a show there, and we did a show out in Harrisburg, and it was really well received, and we had a great time, and everybody was really excited to do more. So I could definitely say that it's on the radar and in the works.
Excellent, man. So what is the time frame for potentially touring with the company band, and then what is the time frame roughly for the release of the new Fireball record?
Well, the Fireball record's going to come out probably the first week of March 2010, and hopefully we'll be hitting it in the summer. I know there's an unofficial New York show being worked on for the company band in New York City for December.
Excellent.
But I think that it's just going to be a matter of figuring out when everybody's schedule is clear, and that's when we'll book the stuff for the company band. So I would definitely say be on the lookout for it next summer, no doubt.
Excellent.
And probably even a little bit in the spring.
Yeah, and maybe you do a package tour with all of your bands and then end with the company band. You never know.
Yeah, we talked about it. You just we're all a little bit long in the tooth. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if we could all handle that much. No, I'm just joking.
Very nice, man. Well, dude, where can people find out more about the company band? Is there a website or what are we looking at?
Yeah, there's a website. It's thecoband.com.
Okay.
And that actually I think kicks you right over to our MySpace page, which Dave does a really awesome job of keeping updated, and any news that's going to happen will definitely come out there for sure.
Excellent.
So that's where you go.
Excellent, man. Well, dude, what am I missing that you want people to know about the company band or Fireball Ministry or anything in between?
I think that once again the number one message of anything I ever do, and I know that all these guys ever do, is just that we're just trying to put out great music for everybody to have a good time listening to. So, always know that you're going to get that from anything that we're doing.
Excellent, man. Well, dude, I don't know if we asked you this one the last time we spoke with you. We've been asking for several years now. We ask everybody what's known as the traditional classic metal show question. So I'll ask you, and you could either tell me, yeah, you already got me with that one, or you can answer it or whatnot. But here it is. How has Lemmy from Motorhead influenced your career?
I'll tell you that he kind of single-handedly made me realize that, when you grow up and you like people that are my age, like the first thing they were probably exposed to was, as far as a band goes, was Kiss,
Right.
And then, I kind of segued into bands like Motley Crue and everything that was happening in the early 80s and whatnot. But it wasn't until I heard Motorhead that I realized that you don't have to be pretty to play rock and roll. Like, you don't have to be, that ain't what it's all about. Like I just think that, of all the bands and of all the people in those bands, that's the true, royalty of what we do and what most of the people that we associate with do. Lemmy's definitely, he made it up.
Right.
So, there's not really anything that you can take away from the guy. He made me up, and he made up most of the bands that I listen to and love. So, all due respect. He had, we got a chance to play a few shows with Motorhead over the years, and every single time it's been, fantastic. And I've run into him a few times, since. And I'll tell you, if I can, I'll tell you my favorite story.
Sure.
About him. And that was when I was at the Video Music Awards for some odd reason, and I was sitting in a bar in one of the promo areas for it, and he sat down right next to me, and the DJ was playing some song that was, popular at the time, whatever the hell it was, I don't remember. This is probably about 2 years ago.
Right.
And I kind of looked at him, and he kind of looked at me, and he ordered his drink, and then he tapped me on the arm, and he said, "This doesn't sound like ZZ Top." I said, no, sir, it does not.
That's funny.
So that's my favorite interaction. I mean, I've had some pretty awesome nights with him, and he's just, he's one of the greats, if not the greatest.
Absolutely. Totally agree, man. Well, dude, like we said, the new band and the new record is simply called The Company Band. And, man, as a tradition, we always let the artist pick a closing track and maybe tell us a story about it. So what would you like us to end with?
Off the record?
Yeah.
We, you played my favorite song already. But I'll tell you something, a funny thing. If you want to play the song, I forget. I have to look at it because I forget I never remember what the songs are called. I always remember the working titles.
Okay.
But let me look real fast.
All right.
Let's see here. There's a song called Love Means Never Having to Say You're Ugly.
Oh, yeah.
That Dave and I were working on together. Actually, Jess had sent us a drum beat from PA that he had written, and Dave and I just banged out, the song, and sent the demo back to him. I remember in like 4 hours, and we were so like super amped on the demo. And then we sent it over to Neil, and I remember that was the one song that Neil got a little bit afraid of because he was afraid of its metalness.
Nice.
So that song, always kind of makes me chuckle because that's Neil Fallon being as metal as he can be.
Well, let's check out the metal Neil Fallon right now. This is The Company Band right here on your Classic Metal Show.
Thanks for checking out the Best of the Classic Metal Show. You can tune into the Classic Metal Show live every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com.
The Classic Metal Show.